Welcome to Patmos, where vision takes root. I'm your host, Jonathan Kalema, so let's dive in. What if the greatest poverty in life is not riches, but actually a lack of vision? What if frustration is not failure, but the signal that something inside of you is waiting to be born? Today, we begin at the root. Welcome to episode 1 of Patmos. Today we're diving into chapter 1, vision being the key to fulfilling your life's purpose. Vision is not what you want. Vision is what your life is pointed. It is the inner picture of why you exist. It is the assignment beneath the ambition. It is the reason why your gifts keep tugging at you. A dream excites you for a moment. A vision keeps calling you back. But there is a correlation between a dream and a vision. We look at Joseph in the book of Genesis and we see how the dream that God gave him was a component of the grander vision. Him getting to a place where he's able to serve and save civilization, being in charge of the resources in Egypt, and ultimately being able to even save his family, was God's greater vision. But his dream, where he saw his family bowing down to him, was just an explanation of how God was going to use him to be at a place to be able to actually serve them in a different way. One of the strongest ideas in chapter 1 of this book is the poorest person is the person without vision. The greatest poverty is not material, it is actually direction. A person can have resources and still be lost. We see that all the time where people have the world in the palm of their hand, so to speak, and still feel empty or still feel as though they're unfulfilled. Now, there's many components of why that unfulfillment is existing. But the main component is a lot of times they could be fulfilling a vision that actually isn't theirs. A person can have talent and still feel empty. A person can have access and still drift. But once vision arrives, life begins to organize itself. The text says frustration often comes from abandoned dreams and deviation caused by fear and doubt. Sometimes frustration is not life against you. Sometimes it is because something inside you has been neglected. A vision is always creating unrest. From a personal perspective, when I'm not creating or I'm not utilizing my gifts to serve others, there's a creative frustration that builds there that it needs an outlet. And so that vision, which is utilizing creative gifts to serve humanity, to serve others, and to be able to bring others' dreams and visions to fruition, needs an outlet, which means it needs cultivation in a space to actually express itself. So when that isn't happening, that frustration does build up. So your spirit knows when it is meant to build. Everyone on this earth has a unique purpose and potential. God specifically selected each of us amongst thousands, millions of other choices, and He selected you. He selected me to come to this earth to fulfill something unique that nobody else could do. And so your lane is your own lane. Your pace is at your own pace. And so we have to go back to our source, who is God, through Jesus Christ, and get to a place where we understand our individual calling and vision that allows us and puts us on the right direction, where our paths and steps are aligned to where He wants us to be and what He wants us to fulfill on His earth through us. So no one is accidental. You're not random, you're not an afterthought, and most importantly, you're not here to consume and partake in only material things because those are fading. There is something assigned to your existence, and that is the journey that you should be embarking on to discover, because time on earth is limited. Vision is not invented, vision is discovered. My evolution from Persisting and Prevail was more of a mindset, understanding that life has its challenges, and your mindset is getting to a place where you persist over obstacles. As you're in that valley of preparation, you then arrive to a prevailing stance, which is climbing out of that valley and getting to a place where you reach and achieve those goals. But a lot of that valley or wilderness could be confusing if you don't necessarily have a vision. It could be very difficult to push through when your end isn't necessarily clear. Now, God doesn't reveal everything to us at one time, because we don't have the capacity to even handle that. If God communicates to us, this is where He would want us and this is what it takes to arrive there, a lot of us wouldn't go down that road. So that's why He only reveals in part, so that we can get to a place that we can trust Him to fill in the blanks and build through faith and relying on Him as a leader and provider and guider of our journeys. Vision is sharpened over time through preparation. We each have a unique responsibility and calling, and that takes us growing into it. We can't trust a child to drive a car, right? So in order to be entrusted with something that God needs to do on this earth, we go through a place of preparation. And so what we're learning through that is what's important, not necessarily what we may be feeling through those moments, because those feelings are temporary. Getting to a place where we live and we serve unlimited God who knows exactly and designed us uniquely for a purpose. And so He knows what we can take, and He won't put more on our plate than we can carry. And so getting to that understanding allows us to really approach things in a more clear and concise way, especially when there's a lot of ambiguity as far as how we actually arrive there. Clarity comes in seasons, and just like it says in Ecclesiastes, that to everything there's a season and a time. There's a time to harvest, a time to plant, and so on and so forth. And so we have to be very discerning and having our ear open to what God is doing each season. We have to be open to hearing and being guided to be led by what God is doing with certain seasons of our life. For me, Patmos is the place where vision stopped being abstract and became an assignment. So I challenge you today is to really take the time to reflect and to think upon what keeps returning to you, what idea refuses to leave, what burden keeps following you. That may not be pressure, it actually may be your vision. Vision is where purpose begins, and purpose is where life becomes meaningful. It's been a pleasure. Remember, this is where vision takes root, and I'll see you next time. God bless.